Welcome back everybody. Today we have another loot video. This time it's loot from 1000 Elite Clues. As always, so smash that subscribe button if you're new. Get right in then. So we're starting our GP off on just under 45 billion. $85k, 1.3, 196k, 197k, reroll, master, 1.2, 235k, 1.4, 1.3, 1.2, 236k, reroll, 1.3 in a master, 1.4 in a master, 132k, reroll, 138k in a master, 2.6 another master, 144k master, 443k, reroll, 141k, 1.3, 1.2, 129k, reroll, and to 294, 1.3, 1 million, 1.2, 211k and a master, 71k reroll, 1.2 on a master, 466k, 1.1, 1.3, 1.5, 173k reroll, 1.2, 1.2 on a master, 1.5 on a master, 592k another master, 1.4, 1.4, 1.1, 1.3, 94k in a master, 272k reroll, into 195k in a master, 2.6, 202, 1.4, 273 reroll into 1.3, 1.2 in a master, 334k reroll into 2.6 million, 1.3, 100k reroll into 2.5, 214k reroll into 1.4, 214k reroll into 1.4, 1.5, 141k reroll, 127k reroll. Need a couple of these cookies. 1.4, 108k reroll, 34k reroll, 104k reroll, 140k reroll, 44k. That was a bad one, back to back. We'll eat a couple more cookies. 435k reroll, 1.3 in a master, 1.3 in a master, 515k reroll, 156k reroll, 276k reroll, 1.5, 101k, into 427k in a master, 2.2, 1.3. We got our first Ash proc. 642k reroll, 161k reroll, 434k reroll, and to 1.1, 4.5, 1.3, 73k reroll, into 559k reroll, into 89k reroll, 201k in a master, and to 135k reroll, 125k reroll, 181k reroll, the 261k. 1.4, 240k reroll, 1.3, 1.5, 121k in a master, 260k reroll into 1.4, 273k reroll into 298, reroll into 266 reroll into 1.3. 553k reroll into 1.3, 1.3, 77k reroll, 165k reroll into 160k. These rerolls are being very unlucky. 1.1, 295k in a master, 148k in a master, 196k reroll into 1.2, 164k in a master, 142k reroll, 72k in a master, into 1.3, 153k at reroll, and 635k will reroll at 1.1, 133k reroll, 265k reroll into 1.2. 1.2 in a master, 38k in a master, 295k reroll, 2.6, 425k, 1.1 mil, 1.4, 119k in a reroll token, 206k in a master, 1.4, 132k in a master, 755k will reroll, 243k reroll, 510k in a master, 263k reroll, 370k reroll at 1.4, 166k reroll into 216k, 937k, 1.4, 239k reroll into 148k reroll, to 125k reroll into 251k. Been so unlucky on these rerolls. 516k into 1.3, 839k, 371k reroll into 139 a master, 243k reroll into 1.1, 141k reroll into 980k in a master, 1 million, 1.4, 1.2, 227k reroll into 1.5, 983k, 168k reroll, 301k reroll, and to 1.2, 233k reroll into 1.3, 202k, 2.6, 518k, another Osh proc, 119k reroll, 122k reroll into 125k. And then as next we have 161k reroll, 227k reroll, 221k reroll, and to 1.1 mil. Into 1.5, 43k reroll, and to 2.7 mil. At 1.3, 169k reroll into 1.3 in a master. At 1.4 in a master. 236k reroll into 1.3, 913k, at 2.3 in a master, at 50k reroll, at 708k, 1.5, at 507k, at 115k in a master, 78k reroll, at 123k, reroll to 161k, reroll to 108k, reroll into 1.3. And then as the next we have 124k, reroll into 180k, reroll into 215k, reroll into 269k. 308k in a master. Back-to-back masters 164k, 605k, reroll into 993k in a master, 354k, 575k in a master, 100k reroll, 333k reroll at 1.5 in master, 649k, 214k in a master, 498k reroll, 36k reroll, and to 99k. Another few cookies. So 1.4, 199k reroll into 1.3, 3.6 in a master, 150k reroll, and to 1.1 in a master, 2.7, 124k reroll, 1.3 in a master, 1.5, 253k, 1 mil and a master, 2.4, 1.2, 217k reroll into 1.3, 182k reroll into 509k in the master, at 1.2, at 2.4, 196k reroll into 900k, 183k reroll and 1.4, at 251k, at 343k, at 256k in the master, at 1 million, at 3.5 in the master, 122k reroll into 905k, at 294k reroll, at 366k reroll into 165k, into 1 million in the master, 112k reroll into 1.3, at 1.3, at 1.3 in the master, 191k reroll into 1.3, at 1.4, at 1.2 in the master, 146k reroll into 322k, at reroll 1.4. Got a couple more cookies. And then next we have 103k reroll into 183k in master, at 528k reroll into 56k, reroll into 1.2. And then so next we have at 1.3 and 300k in a master, at 1.2, at 631k, 139k reroll, and to 270k reroll into 675k. Have a reroll that one into 589k. 158k reroll into 196k, reroll into 2.6 mil. 102k at 1.2, 888k, 1.3 at 1.2, 61k reroll, and to 1.6, 1.2, 184k reroll, and to 2.3 at 1.2, 182k reroll, to 152k at reroll, and to 458k in the master, at 1.4, 3.7, at 1.3, at 4.7 in the master, at 2.5 in the master, 220k reroll into 428k in the master, 44k reroll into 1.1 in the master, 1.3 at 520k, 187k reroll into 100k, reroll again into 148k, reroll into 197k and a master, 2.3 in a master, 184k reroll, 97k in a master, 4.7, 553k reroll into 1.3, 1.4 in a master, and we got a blood dye miss. 323k reroll into 138k, 711k, 193k reroll into 1.1, 1.4, 47k reroll into 1.2, 192k reroll into 2.2, 281k reroll into 1 million. Getting through these cookies pretty quick. 302k in a master, 244k reroll into 1.2, 1.4, and to 1.1 in a master, 2.3, 1.2, 1.1, 1.4, 1.4, another Oshprock, 2.3, 164k reroll into 262k reroll, and to another cookie, 190k reroll, and to 355k reroll, the 1.2, 850k, 1.4, 1.2, 164k, 2.5, 99k reroll, and to 166k reroll, and to 1.3. Not doing too bad in terms of masters so far, 74. Then next 340k, 1.5, 1 million, 144k reroll, and to 1.2, million, at 1.4, 404k reroll into 376k, reroll into 336k, 207k, reroll into 275k, reroll into 1.4, 138k in a master, million, 58k reroll, and 297k, reroll into 97k. Into 139k reroll, 154k reroll, and 224k reroll, and to 2.4 mil. 184k in a master, 166k reroll, 154k reroll, into 1.2. 1.2 and a master, 774k, 2.3, 2.6, and 954k, 178k reroll, and to 271k, reroll into 66k, reroll into 2.4 in master. 1.2, 1.4, 979k, 224 in a master, 364k reroll, and to 2.4, 128k reroll, and to 566k reroll, and 128k in a master, 756k, 1.2, 214k in a master, 1.2 in a master, 56k reroll, and to 83k reroll, and to 170k reroll, to 101k, 103k, 363k reroll, and to 951k and a master. 2.2, 100k reroll, into 390k in a master, 102k reroll, into 126k reroll, into 547k, 1.2 in a master, 1.3 and another blood die miss, 93k reroll into 1.3, 1.4, 86k reroll into 1.2, 1.2 in a master, 271k reroll into 1.2, 120k in a master, Oshprock and a master and 1.5, 301k reroll into 440k, 1.1, 152k reroll and to 1.4, 1.1, 91k in a master, 1.3, 1.2, 84k reroll into 1.3 in a master, 1.3 in a master, 177k reroll into 478k in a master, 1.2 and a cookie, 2.5, 840k, 2.4 in a master, 2.3 in a master, 254k reroll, 251k reroll, 2.3, 147k reroll, 506k in a master, 354k in a master, 153k reroll into 226k, reroll into 558k, 1.4 in a master, 178k reroll into 375k, 1.4, 149k and a master, 153k in a master, 2.2, 57k reroll, 223k reroll, to 1.2, 1.2 in a master, 163k reroll, and to 1.2, 114k in a master, 288k reroll, to 271k, reroll to 260k, reroll to 284k. So 357k, reroll into 442k, reroll to 182k, reroll into 456k in the master, followed by 338k, reroll into 1.3, 172k, reroll into 105k in the master, 114k, reroll into 1.6, 1.3 in the master, 899k, 591k in the master, 222k reroll into 232k, reroll into 115k, reroll into 62k. We're getting so unlucky. So 2.3 and a master, 1.2, 56k reroll into 1.5, 1.4 and a master, 1.3, 1.4 and another master, 1.5, 1.6, 26k reroll, and the 390k in a master, 2.3 in a master, 511k will reroll, 202k reroll into 2.8, 210k reroll, 1.2, at 1.3, at 256k and a master, at 1.2, at 32k reroll into 93k, reroll 28k is so low, reroll into 441k. And then so next we have a 570k, followed by 468k. We'll reroll into 2.6, at 2.4, at 1.3 and a master, at 1.4. 198k reroll, and 402k in a master, 283k reroll, 70k in a master, so 161k in a master, 212k reroll, and to 561k, 373k. We'll reroll that one then into 4.5. So that was a nice one. And then so next we have 301k in a master. 240k reroll, and 282k reroll, into 266k, 276k reroll, and to 309k. A couple more cookies. We're running out of cookies pretty quick actually. 475k reroll into 611k, 694k, 271k reroll, into 343k reroll into 608k in a master. At 1.2, 133k in a master, at 257k reroll into 1.4, at 2.5. There we go. We'll take that. Nice little shadow die. That's really good GP. What do we have left? So we still have another 658 to go. Delighted with that one. I wasn't expecting to get one that early, to be fair. I've actually had a Shattered Eye pretty recent as well, so nice big GP, we'll take that. Let's get back to it then. So 4.6, 1.3, 187k reroll, 248k reroll, 294k in master, 141k, 61k, 157k, at 1.5, at 1.4, 147k, at 1.4 mil, at 2.6, at 768k, at 1.2, at 1.4, so 94k, at reroll into 1.4, at 209k, at reroll into 1.2 on the master, at 47k reroll, into 566k, 91k reroll, and to 1 million. 313k reroll into 45k, reroll into 1.3, 135k reroll into 4.6, 202k, 113k, at 1.3 in a master, 701k, 163k in a master, 552k, at 1.3, 1.5, 480k in a master, 333k in a master, 197k reroll into 174k, at 1.2 in a master, at 2.2, 174k in a master, 121k reroll into 1.8 in a master, 392k reroll into 468k, at 1.3, 42k reroll into 197k, reroll into 142k, reroll into 158k. So we're really getting unlucky again. So then next one, 4.5, 1.2 in a master, 226k, 2.7, 632k, 163k reroll into 2.3, 139k reroll into 1.4, 417k reroll into 2.3, 1.4, 1.3, 202k reroll into 143k, 963k in the master, 3.4, 1.1, 260k reroll, 128k, 3.7, 217k reroll, 121k, 1.3, 174k reroll, and to 703k, 340k, 1.3, 1.2, 109k reroll, and to 95k in the master, 120k, 101k in a master, 1.5 in another Oshproc, 28k reroll into 169k in a master, 332k reroll into 136k in a master, 572k, 91k in a master, 1.2, 1.2, 183k reroll into 1.2, 299k reroll into 1.4, 1.3, 64k, 91k reroll into 1.1, 19k, 143k, 205k in a master, 349k reroll, and 873k in a master, 173k, 1.3 in a master, 1.2 in a master, 1.4, 1.4, 2.5, 131k reroll, and 167k reroll, and to 288k, 231k reroll, into 227k in a master, 122k, 88k, 1.2, 1.4, 142k reroll into 132k, 204k reroll into 1 million, 121k, 1.4 in master, 109k reroll and 2.5, 1.3 in Oshproc, 243k, 365k reroll into 1.1, 1.2, 1.2, 2.6 in a master, 90k reroll into 163k, 197k in a master, 99k reroll into 1.3, 2.3, 168k, 147k reroll into 1.2, 164k at 1.1 in a master, 142k reroll into 1.5, at 1.2 in another blood die miss, 82k at 1.3, 66k in a master, 747k and back-to-back masters, at 1.2, 103k reroll into 161k, reroll into 104k, 350k at 1.2 mil, 360k reroll into 228k, 195k, 1.4 in a master, 245k reroll, 74k, 1.2, 1.4, 170k reroll into 90k, 343k, 1.2, 36k reroll into million and a master, back-to-back masters 487k, 252k reroll into 832k, 278k, 349k, 186k reroll into 79k and another Oshproc, 1.2, 2.3, and a 309k reroll into 400k, 1.5, 138k, 1 million, 779k, 152k reroll into 187k, 1.1, 1.5, 2.5, 854k in a master, 1.3, 712k, 130k in a master, 63k reroll into 70k, reroll into 179k, 1.3 and a master, 1.3, 438k, 258k reroll into 1.2, 1.3, 196k in a master, 243k reroll into 177k, reroll into 325k, So 2 million, 2.5 in a master, 4.5, 2.6, 299k reroll into 388k reroll into 347k in a master, 103k, 159k reroll into 1.5 in a master, back-to-back masters in 1.1, 352k, 47k in another master, back-to-back masters 225k, 1.4, 92k reroll to 1.3, 225k reroll into 229k, 3.5 in a master, 1.1, 1.2, we're over the halfway point now, 1.4, 1 million, 1.3 in a master, 1.2, 2.7, 152k reroll into 117k, reroll into 137k in a master, 1 million, 127k reroll, 1.4, 105k reroll into 1.2 in a master, back-to-back masters in 219k, 238k reroll, and to 547k, 338k, 1.3 in a master, 1.4, 1.2, 252k reroll into 270k, 1.2, 2.4, 97k reroll into 313k, 2.5, 224k reroll, and to 339 in a master, 342k, 1.2 in a master, 1.1 in a master, 380k in a master, 210k reroll into 266k, reroll into 82k in a master, 243k, 195k, 102k in a master, 1.1, 538k, 1.2, 1.5 and a third age miss, 1.4, 408k reroll into 1.2, 249k reroll and 2.7, 1.1, 1.2 another blood die miss. I think that's number 4 at this stage. 134k reroll and to 94k, reroll into 121k, 1.5, 2.4 in a master, 202k reroll into 1.3, 370k in a master, 508k, 93k in a master, 166k reroll into 187k, 282k in a master, 2.3, 125k in a master, 1 million, 1.2, 366k in a master, back-to-back masters 491k, 1.5, 159k reroll into 137k, reroll into 271k in a master, 83k reroll into 142k in a master, back-to-back masters 156k, 269k reroll into 281k, 77k reroll into 134k, 1.1 in a master, 1 million in a master back-to-back, 1.4, 1.4, 295k reroll and 166k in another Oshproc, 1.1, 175k reroll and 59k in a master, 782k back-to-back masters, 236k reroll and to 1.2 another master and another blood die miss, 815k, 114k, 301k, 265k, 1.5, 2.6, 197k in a master, 1.2, and another third age miss 2.4, so 645k, 113k reroll into 3.4 in a master, 2.2, 103k reroll into 272k in a master, 85k in a master back to back, 109k reroll into 582k, 146k reroll into 289k, 1.3, 201k, 1.3, 1.4, 678k, 222k reroll into 118k, reroll into 110k, 135k, 2.6, 3.7, 1.1, 1.3, 1.4, 353k reroll into 3.5, 124k in a master, 89k, 1.6, 141k in a master, 1.5, 152k reroll, into 297k, a reroll into 295k, a reroll into 1.5 in a master, 1.2, 978k in a master, 136k reroll into 1.2, 1.2 in a master, 100k reroll into 1.4, 1.2, 154k, 3.6, 183k reroll into 1.2, 104k, 1.1 in a master, back-to-back masters 527k, triplicate back-to-back masters 595k, 4 in a row 117k, 4 masters in a row, 5 in a row 764k, 6 masters in a row 330k, 7 masters in a row 2.6 mil, and we break this streak. 7 masters in a row is insane though. 108k, reroll into 166k, reroll into 1.3 mil, 125k, reroll into master in 1.4, 85k, reroll into 1.6, 1.3, 1.3, 139k reroll into 1.4, 382k in a master, 162k reroll into 1.2, 263k in a master, 182k, 765k, at 1.3, at 1.2, 105k reroll into 273k, reroll into 255k in another master, 478k, 216k, 163k reroll into 1.3, 286k, at 1.4, at 1.2, at 1.3, at 1.4, at 1.2, at 1.4, 154k reroll into 198k, reroll into 236k, 407k in a master, 100k reroll into 1.3, 99k, 15k reroll into 138k, 176k, 324k in a master, 338k reroll into 223k, at 1.2, 338k in a master, 153k reroll into 1 million, 1.4, 80k, 2.5, 198k reroll into 144k, 342k into 170k reroll, 74k, 41k in a master, back-to-back masters 824k, 215k reroll into 1.3, 3.5, 106k, 1.4, 1.2, 1.3, 3.6, 147k reroll into 1.5, 1.9, 1.2 in a master, 80k reroll into 1.5 in a master, 906k, 3.5, 252k in a master, 1.2 in a master, back to back to back 463k master again, then we get an Oshproc 295k, 747k, 221k in a master, 267k reroll into 1.2, 1.3, 143k reroll into 511k in a master, 301k reroll into 345k reroll into 684k, 1.3, 1.2, 250k reroll into 957k in a master, 132k reroll into 1.1 and another third age miss, 651k, 171k reroll into 87k in a master, 153k, 220k in a master, 166k reroll into 174k, 266k, 188k in a master, 83k reroll into 40k, 278k, 446k reroll into 128k, 1.2, 155k, 172k reroll into 1.5, 216k, 168k, 1.2 in a master, 1.5, 2.3, 211k reroll into 143k in a master, back-to-back masters 110k, 1.5, 107k reroll into 546k into 1.3 million, 1.3 in a master, 1.5, 1.3 in a master, 2.5, 72k in a master, 150k reroll into an Oshproc and a master, and 677k, 178k at 1.2, 299k reroll into 397k, reroll into 254k in a master, 194k in a master, 174k another master, 1.9, 260k in a master, 1,000,000, 668k, 1.5, 1.2 in another master, 97k reroll into 1.3, 257k reroll 465k, reroll into 220k, so losing a good bit there. So 150k in a master, 310k reroll and to 204k, 185k, 245k, 1.4, 2.4, 68k reroll into 1.3, 90k reroll into 557k in a master, 261k, 1.4, 1.3, 1.3, 1.3, 229k in a master, 98k reroll into 136k, reroll into 169k, 74k in a master, 1,000,000, 580k, 18k in a master, 145k reroll, and to 1.4 and a master, 1.3, 336k reroll into 777k, 1.2, 1,000,000, 2.6, 234k reroll into 85k, 25k reroll into 609k, 3.4, 1.3, 164k reroll into 127k, 802k, 1,000,000, 295k reroll into 232k, 90k, 1.1, 251k. Surely we have another broadcast in us. We've only got one so far and we're nearly 800 in. 271k, 1.3, 1.2, and there we go. We ask and you get a Barrow's die. Not the best, but not the worst either. We'll take that anyway. Not too bad. And we also got an Oshproc then as well to go with it then, so not bad at all. Let's get our Barrow's die then out of our bank. We have one more broadcast in us then. We have 290 and left to open then, so hopefully we have another one then at least. So let's see, 1.4 in a master, 1.2, 1.3, 267k reroll into 126k, reroll 1.4 in a master, 161k, 221k reroll into 1,000,000, 1.4, 332k, 1.2, 168k reroll into 321k in a master, 412k, 206k reroll into 127k, 308k in a master, 169k, 1.4 and another cookie, 139k and a master, 147k reroll into 78k reroll into 82k, 1.4 and a master, 569k, 601k, 284k reroll into 354k, reroll into 121k, 182k in a master, 1.5, 537k, 151k reroll into 1.4 in a master, 231k, 166k reroll into 112k, 1,000,000, 62k in another cookie, 109k reroll, and to 202k. 1.4, 326k in a master, 201k reroll into 720k, 163k in a master, 135k reroll, 2.6 mil in the master, 68k reroll into 365k in a master, 190k, 246k, 1.2 in a master, 184k, 1.8, 612k, 1.6, 129k reroll into 125k, 1.2, 90k in a master, 3.4, 2.4, 1.4, 848k, 1.2 in a master, 738k, 111k, reroll into 411k. We'll reroll again, 72k, and we'll reroll again, and it's 141k. 190k, 1.3, 1.2, 1.5, 1.2, 37k, reroll into 1.4, 118k, reroll into 93k, 1.3 in another master, 210k, reroll to 1.2 in a master, 185k, 202k in a master, 1.3, 74k, reroll into 153k, 183k in a master, 122k reroll, and to 1.2, 236k, 100k reroll, into 206k, 3.6 mil, 281k, 1.3, 357k reroll into 231k, 102k in another master, 1.2, 272k reroll into 1.3, 131k, 1.2 in a master, 2.6, 367k reroll into 2.5 in a master, so 4.6, 1.3, 439k, 556k, 58k reroll into 313k, 774k, 1.3 mil, 1.4, and another third age miss. Getting so many third age and blood dye misses. 228k in a master, 1.1, 1.1 in a master, 1.3, 1.4, 133k reroll into 185k. We'll reroll again to 559 in a master, 393k. We'll reroll that one then into 187k, 100k, 1.3, 168k reroll, and 183k, 305k, 1.3 in a master. Back-to-back masters 1.3 again, back-to-back masters 200k, and we have 193k reroll into another master, 354k in a master, 1.2, 1.3, 80k in another master, 213k reroll into 134k in another master, 67k reroll into 72k, 103k in another master, 120k reroll into 729k, 111k, 660k in a master, 181k reroll into 206k, 250k, 200k in another master, 529k, 100k reroll into 479k, 2.5, 196k reroll into 241k, 232k, and we're down to our final 100 now. 1.3 mil, 336k reroll into 343k, 226k, 112k reroll into 116k in a master, 2.8 and another third age miss, 3.5, 1.4, 118k reroll into 416k, and there we go. There's a third broadcast and a nice ice dye. Let's get it. That's huge GP. That's what we want to see. So all we need now is a third age dye and blood dye to complete the set then from one open. And let's get it. So last 91. Do we have anything else left that we can get? I'd really like another blood dye. 1.7 in a master, 350k in a master back to back, 1.4, 3.4, 2.5 in another master, 151k reroll into 1.1, 32k reroll into 212k, reroll into 353k in a master, 58k, 1.4, 1.2 in another blood diamond, 1.6, 1.2, 64k, 535k, reroll into 337k, 376k, 1.1 mil, 227k reroll, 141k, 400k, 1.2, 1.1, 282k in a master, 572k, 200k reroll, into 131k, reroll into 202k, 280k, 1.4, 1.4 in a master, back-to-back masters 124k, 76k reroll into 441k, 1.5, 197k reroll into 87k, and we got another cookie, 360k, followed by 549k, 79k and another cookie, and into 406k, we'll reroll that one, then into 234k, we'll reroll to 105k, 177k in a master, and 916k, 56k reroll into 124k, reroll into 498k, into a million, 1.2, 232k reroll into 1.6, 575k, 247k another Osh proc, 184k reroll into 1.2, so less than 50 to go, 1.2, 1.3, 622k, 1.1, 113k reroll, and to 297k, so 126k, we'll reroll that one into 1.2, 160k reroll into 106k, 190k in the master, 1.1, 1.3, 622k, 838k, 271k reroll into 125k, reroll into 244k, 279k, 142k, 175k reroll into 285k, 985k, 218k in a master, 266k reroll into 1.3 in a master, 2.6, 1.3, 1.2 in another blood diamond, 100k in a master, 698k, and we're down to the final 25. So hopefully all the luck's in the last 25 for us anyway. It's 881k in a master, 663k reroll into 226k, reroll into 786k, 480k in a master, 355k reroll into 2.4, 143k in a master, 50k, 145k reroll, and 103k, 1.4, 362k in a master, 486k in another master back to back, 1.1 mil, 1.3 in another master, 336k reroll, and to 1.2, 216k reroll, and to 120k and a master, 144k, 2.4, 384k in a master, 123k reroll into 119k, 1.5 into 1.3, 2.6, 1 million, 1.2, 1.2, and the last one then 510k will reroll into 277k. We'll reroll again into 178k. We'll reroll again for the last one, and it is 290k. So yeah, all in all, we've done really well this one. We got 3 broadcasts anyway, which is always a nice, and we're up to, yeah, so 48.5 billion. So we just under 3.5 billion from this opening, so not bad at all. We'll take that for sure. So that's another loot video done, and we made some nice GP then today. So subscribe if you're new, and comment below if you have any suggestions for future content. Until then, see ya.